Hi, everyone. Let me know if you can hear and see me in the chat. Just want to make sure everyone can see me. Okay, we're good to go. Hi, guys. Welcome to this week's Unity Hour. The community team at the Mom Project invites you to another installment of our Unity Hour series, a series designed to keep us moving together while we're still apart. My name is Hiba Abdullahi. I am the social media manager here at the Mom Project. I have Tiffany with me here today as my backup. And Katie, who is women in the YouTube chat, to welcome you all here joining us live. As a reminder, this session is going to be recorded and can be accessed via our YouTube channel once this is over. You'll also receive the email link with the link to the session and a follow-up with some of the resources that we're going to go over today. We got you covered because we know things do come up, so don't worry. I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for RSVPing, for watching live, for watching the replay. Unity has become increasingly important as we continue to navigate these layers of challenges. You're still here with us every week, and this week, over 2,000 people RSVP to this session. We know this is a big topic, and we're just so grateful to each and every one of you. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Before we get into the session, I do want to talk about our latest program launch, which is called RISE. It's a scholarship program committed to accelerating equity for moms and women of color, providing them access to 100% funded upskilling certifications designed to help them break into tech. Applications are still open if you're interested in learning more and applying, or if you know somebody that would be interested for this, please visit work.themomproject.com/rise. Our first cohort kicks off on November 1st, just a couple of days, but we're still going to be reviewing applications for the next cohort. So we'll put the link in the YouTube chat for you guys, and then we will put it out there if you guys are interested, and then we'll just keep it moving. Okay, so today's topic is all about career pivots. We know that this is so timely. Job searches can be daunting. Changing industries can make you feel like you're just doing this uphill climb that, when am I ever going to get there? We hear you, we see you, and that's why we have the session today. And I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Liana Pistell. She's a career coach for working moms and also senior marketing manager at LinkedIn. She coaches working moms in Silicon Valley and beyond on how to transition careers and return to work confidently after a career break or maternity leave. She has successfully changed careers three times, guys, from government to nonprofit to tech, and she's made two successful maternity leave comebacks. I mean, she's a boss. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her today, and I'm going to throw it to her so she could get us right into it.
Thanks, Hiba, and hi, everybody. I'm so happy for you that you took the time today to invest in yourself and to try to bring your career change forward. I'm happy to be volunteering my time on a Friday to help you achieve your goal. So I'm Liana Pistell, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have just a few slides that I'm going to share with you today. It's part of my 4-step process to successfully changing careers. We'll go through the process in itself, which is the exact approach that I use with my coaching clients, and that has garnered really strong results for them. At the very end, we'll be taking questions, and I'll answer as many as I possibly can. So as you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to just drop them in the chat, and Hiba and Tiffany will help me moderate them and answer. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Hiba is telling me that my screen share is disabled. One moment, guys. Okay, let's try it again. Here we go. Excellent. Okay, can you all see my presentation? Great. So hello, working mama. I'm calling everyone a working mom, even if right now you don't feel like you are a working mom because you want to be one. I'm Liana, as Hiba mentioned. I work at LinkedIn, and as part of my work at LinkedIn, I know all about how to leverage your network and also how to present yourself in order to find the job that you want. I'm also a career coach specifically for professional working women, and I have been for the past few years. I'm going to share my 4-step process, and let's get into it right now. I'm first going to ask you about how you feel about changing careers. Then we'll go over the process and do Q&A as I mentioned. So, how do you feel about changing careers? Many people feel like this woman on the swing. You're like, yeah, I'm going to get on the swing. Oh my gosh, where am I going? Into the abyss? What's the next step? How do I get there? Do I let go? How do I get momentum? There are lots of questions, and I'm hoping at the end of this presentation, you feel empowered to take next steps. Some people feel like this. So here's a range of emotions. The woman on the top left is like, am I ready to go to interviews? I haven't done this in a long time. I've stayed at home with the kids, or I've just been volunteering, or insert thing that you've been doing that makes you think that you are not professional enough to enter the workforce right now. And that it's a little bit of a knock on your confidence. There's the woman in the bottom left. It's like, how am I going to manage all of this? There's kids, my responsibilities at home, and there's work. And there's trying to figure out how I'm going to have this wild schedule and also feel successful and balanced. Many people also are new moms or just recently had a baby. And you have that torn emotion of being like, I want to stay with my baby. I also need to provide for my family. How will I manage this? Who will care for my child? These are all worries that come into the idea of getting a new job. And then during the pandemic, most of us feel like this. This is an image that I took straight from an NPR article about how women's lives are unraveling during the pandemic, but talk about the number of responsibilities that as working mothers, we are all carrying, in addition to adding this side activity of looking for new work. Looking for new work feels like a full-time job because it often is, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why today I hope to walk you through an approach that will make you feel like you could be taking small steps to gain real momentum towards the career change. This is a stat from just a few days ago. In September, almost 1 million women left the workforce. This is because of the demands that are being put on women today. Virtual schooling, jobs that aren't flexible enough for the different scheduling needs that we have, for the different caring needs that we have, to caring for ourselves. And the thing is, millions of women today are leaving the workforce, not because they want to, but they feel like they have to. And there are millions of people, and including some of you, who left the workforce before the pandemic hit. And now you're trying to find a job, but you can't find the on-ramp. It feels impossible. Well, it's not impossible. And there is a piece of good news here. So in my work at LinkedIn, I very closely track the job market. And what I mean by that is when companies are hiring, when their hiring surges. And right now, companies are starting to feel a little bit optimistic about the future, despite the rising coronavirus cases. And what we're seeing is that more companies are starting to rehire. This is actually a good time to look for a job. I wouldn't have said the same thing 3 months ago. So today, you are doing something that your future self will thank you for. You might not feel this way today, but you will. Once you land that job that you wanted, you'll be like, yeah, I'm glad I put in the time. Go me. You'll feel like this. You want to feel happy. You want to feel fulfilled. You want to feel professional. And this is why I do the work that I do. Because women deserve to feel this way if that's how you want to feel. Sometimes you just need a few nudges, a little support, and some strategic guidance to get there. I have a 4-step process. And how I developed it, you might be wondering where this comes from. So I told Hiba I switched career 3 times, but then when I really thought about it, speaking with my partner, I switched careers 4 times. My personal experience. Now, this makes me an expert in switching careers, but I don't recommend you switch careers 4 times. I recommend you just learn the lessons that I had to learn the hard way so that maybe you only do it 1 more time and you found the career that you want to be in. I also have been coaching professional women in Silicon Valley for 8 years, and I've been coaching alums from Georgetown University, specifically women, for 10 years. This is what I found to be the approach that works. So I have a 4-step approach. 4 simple pieces that are critical. You can't skip any of them, and you can't do any of them partially. So I hope that right now you're taking notes and identifying the things that you haven't done yet so that after this call, you can go start taking small steps towards achieving the career that you want. The first step will be to figure out exactly what you want. Some of you on the call know what you want. You're just trying to get there. Other people are at the phase of just wondering, I don't know what I want. I just know I don't want what I have right now. And so this first piece will help you identify exactly what it is you like and don't like so that you can make meaningful progress forward and not just feel like you're just spinning around this question of what is it that I want? What am I passionate about? What can I actually get done? The second piece is assessing your skills, but also assessing the gap in your skills that is preventing you from seeming qualified for the job that you do want. The third piece is about taking action. And what I encourage you to do here is to take multiple small actions, non-time consuming actions that will amount to a larger shift. We don't have tons of time in our day. Mothers do not have tons of time to devote to this. You need to be sure that you're taking actions that are efficient and effective with the time that you have. And lastly, the fourth piece about leveraging your network. I'm sure you've heard those words, network, network, network. What does that really mean? How valuable is it? And how do you do this in a time efficient way that gets people to actually answer your messages? That's what we're going to get at. Best practices on how to network, again, to get you specifically towards your goal. So let's get into it. Figuring out what you want. This is time for an honest self-assessment. I walk my clients through these same 4 steps. Some of you feel like this. You're trying to figure out what you want. You either don't know what you want, or you don't know what company you want to work for, or you don't know what industry you want to work for. If you don't have answers to these questions, you have to remain at this step. You need to get to this place where you are that yellow arrow, where other people are going in their own direction, but you understand what your goal is. And here are questions for you to ask yourself honestly and answer honestly so that you can start identifying the opportunities in the path that work for you. What are these questions? Specifically, what do you like about your current or past jobs? Be super specific. I don't care if you write down, I like that they gave me free breakfast, or I like my coworkers, or I liked writing press releases and nothing else. I like being on the phone all day. This is a list just for you, but get granular think about your day and think about what you liked. And similarly, what did you dislike? So many of us hate our jobs, or we don't like our current situation, and we're not clear on exactly what it is about it that we don't like. But if you can get clear on what you don't like, it'll help you hone in on what opportunities avoid what you don't like. Next, what do you like about your current or past company? Some people love their job but hate their company. Some people love their job but hate their team or their manager. Some workplace cultures are toxic. I know of a woman who just flash quit her job after having a baby because she sensed that there was real stigma against mothers. And the thing is, she was right. There was stigma against mothers. So the next thing that she wanted was a workplace culture that was more permissive to parents. Great. That sounds wonderful, right? But then those are hard to find. And then furthermore, she found roadblocks as she was talking to these companies because, well, she couldn't figure out why. She's like, I've talked to them and then they don't call back. And what I learned was that she was telling companies why she wanted to work there because of the job, but also because of how family friendly they were and their benefits and their policies. And that was a red flag to companies. They were still stigmatizing the mother job seeker. When we changed the narrative about what she really wanted was about the job and the commitment to the mission of the company, and she didn't talk about the benefits in the interview, doors suddenly started opening for her, and she got into a company that was flexible. So it's really important, like get specific. And now she's in a company that is flexible and she's happy about it. So there's identifying what you want and need, and then there's the path to get there, which is a bit different. And next, you really do have to be honest about how you want to work. Part-time, full-time, flex time. Now there's the dream state. Then there's the realities of the marketplace, and somewhere in between is where you will find what works for you. Some companies don't offer part-time, but once you've been there for 2 years, you can negotiate part-time. You only learn these things throughout the process that I'm going to outline for you. No company is going to come tell you you can work part-time or remote all the time right away. Some companies, but very few. So what you need to identify is what's going to work for you now and what will work for you in the future and how you'll get there. You also have to be realistic about salary. So you have to be realistic about your own salary expectations, what you want to earn, what your family needs you to earn, and then look at it against part-time, full-time, flex time, and different locations, because those variables matter in how much money you are going to make. You don't want to be in this position. You don't want to just jump to the next opportunity without having done that self-reflection, because then All that work was for what? This happens all the time. So if what I outlined for you feels already a bit overwhelming or feels like overkill on questions, I promise you that it's not, because it will prevent you from being in this situation. Step 2, you want to assess your skills, what you've got and what you need to land the job. You must. I rarely say the word must. I usually say should, I recommend. You must look at skills on 3 specific dimensions. If you don't look at them on these 3 dimensions, you will be missing a key component that might prevent you from getting that job. The first is you need to take stock of your current skills. This sounds obvious, but we actually underrate our current skills. There's 2 sets of skills, soft skills and hard skills, or technical skills. Let's talk about technical skills for a second. Here's where I want you to list on a piece of paper, and then you're going to copy paste from that piece of paper right into your resume and right into your LinkedIn profile, all of the softwares you have ever used. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office. Have you ever used Salesforce for a hot second? Guess what? You know how to learn how to use Salesforce. Saying that you know how to use a tool doesn't mean you're an expert. It means that you have used it / you are confident in your ability to take a 2-hour tutorial and learn further for the job. Men, by the way, do this all the time. They naturally will list every single thing they know how to do. And us women, we often put ourselves in a position of saying, well, I'm not really professional at this. Other people know how to use it more than I do. You have to stop that. You've used it, great, you know it. Put it down on your resume. And then soft skills. Soft skills, I always categorize as why people like working with you. Are you a good communicator? Do you have strong writing? Are you an analytical thinker? Are you easy to get along with? Are you a problem solver? Do you know how to negotiate? Are you really good at talking on the phone and giving presentations? List these things out. This is really important. And if you are having trouble coming up with a list, think about what a coworker or a really good friend would say are your strongest skills. Those are usually your soft skills. By the way, you don't have to have a coworker say it to you, and you don't have to have used them in a professional setting. Being a mom, where you're often the household manager, you're often the scheduler of the whole family, you're often managing conflicts and negotiations, you have all these skills. Some people liken having a small team at a company to basically being the mom of 4 kids. Write those skills down. You have them. Next, identify the skills needed in your target career. So let's say you've identified the job or the company, the type of jobs that you're interested in, and now you're wondering, what skills do I need to get there? Thing is, you need to show that you have the skills. You don't need to show that you've done the exact job. But this is where you want to start looking at job postings and seeing what's listed under required skills. You also can use this new tool called LinkedIn Career Explorer, which we'll share after the webinar in the email, where you can actually put in a title that you have, or a title you have had of job, or the title that you want, and you can see what the top skills are for that title, and then what other types of jobs use those skills. If you can find a role that's somewhat transferable to the type of skills that you already have, you're already 1 foot closer to getting that dream job. Finally, you should get the scoop from people on the inside. So let's say you have 3 companies you're interested in working in, or you really want to become a photographer. Well, now is the time to look through your LinkedIn network and your Facebook friends and see who has those jobs. And it's fair game to reach out to them and to say, hey, I'd love to chat with you for 20 minutes to talk to you about your career, or talk to you with your experience at X company, or talk about what you love and hate about being a photographer. This is where you'll get granularity. This is like where you have like a dream person you want to date, but like you never talk to them. And you just imagine in your mind what it's going to be like and what they're like and all the great things and all the bad things, but you really have no idea. And then you like talk to them once and you're like, what was I thinking? You need to do this legwork. It doesn't have to be very formal. You don't need a list of 10 questions. You literally need to ask people, what do you like about your job? What don't you like? And then you also ask them, hey, I'm interested in this career. What do you think I really need to learn? And even better, once they tell you, say, how do I need to learn this? Is it on the job? Can I take an online course? They might not know, but they might know. Sometimes we think we need these big qualifications, but what we really need is a small amount of experience or an online course just to prove that you've got the chops. So then the third step is when you figure out exactly what you want to learn, you need to learn it in the fastest and most economical way you can. You don't need to get a big degree unless you plan on transitioning to a career that requires a big degree. Now, some of you might feel like you need to go get a degree. What's the most economical way that you can go get that degree? Today, there are so many courses online. There's so many opportunities to learn. I'm not saying online courses are the answer, but in some cases they might be. So that's why it's really important to talk to people in the industry, to figure out exactly which 2 or 3 skills you might be missing so that you can focus and move forward. Next is take action, one little step at a time. I know you just want to jump into this brand new career. That's how I felt 4 times. But it's only by taking a small step at a time that you're going to start moving towards your goal. Otherwise, you'll have a little momentum and then you'll stop having momentum. You won't know why, and you'll feel deflated and it'll feel like an uphill battle. Don't overthink it anymore. Once you've figured out roughly what you want and you've figured out what skills you need to learn, some of you might realize you don't even need to learn any new skills. Some of you might realize, hey, I want to do a brand new thing that's completely unrelated to anything I've ever done, and I have a lot to learn. Wherever you are in that journey, once you've identified that, stop overthinking it. Stop psyching yourself out. This is where you just start focusing your time and your energy on moving forward. You look for micro opportunities. That's the first thing. What does that mean? I mean small opportunities to dip your toe in to this industry or job or company to learn more about it and participate. So you could join a Twitter chat or one local meetup on Zoom about this topic or industry. You could sign up for a webinar related to your target industry. So I did this one time. I was really interested in marketing before I worked in marketing, and I signed up for 3 webinars on marketing from a marketing agency just so I could be in the room and hear what marketers really talk about. Marketing is a really broad topic, and that's where I started to learn about different verticals within marketing. You had your email marketers, your digital marketers, your event marketers, and I didn't know much about that beforehand, but it helped me identify, oh, this is interesting, or this is horribly boring. This makes no money, and you're constantly working 24/7. You can also volunteer. Now, volunteering always sounds so nice, and a lot of us feel like we just don't have the time. Where do I have the time to volunteer? I barely have time to make myself lunch, right? But I'm sure you might be involved in some activities where volunteering could be a natural extension. For example, do your kids go to preschool or kindergarten? Do they look for volunteers for things? You can go volunteer for snacks, or you can volunteer to make a flyer that you've never done before. You do that a few times, and voila, you have some marketing experience. You could set up chats. This is where you connect with people in your Facebook and your LinkedIn network who are in your target world for your new job, and you set up the type of chat that I just mentioned before. And you know what? You might think people don't want to talk to me, or I don't have time to talk to them. If you talk to one person for 20 minutes in a month, you're going to learn so much. And the thing is, if you're reaching out to somebody who you know or you used to know, they're going to be happy to reconnect with you. You don't know how many times my clients say, oh, I don't want to bother people. And then they reach out with a simple message that says, hey, it's been a long time. I want you to know that I've been thinking about you. And also, I'm looking to change careers in this. And I realize that you've been working in X. And I'd love to just chat with you about your experience. And the person always writes back and is like, it's so nice to hear from you. And people love talking about themselves. Seriously, 80% of the time, they'll say yes. And if they don't, you can also give them the out of being like, would it be okay if I just sent you a few questions here? Facebook chat, Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger, email, whatever. And people oftentimes will respond. You'd be surprised. People are just happy to reconnect, especially during the pandemic. We're all looking for connection. It's really nice to get in contact with somebody who you used to know and like. And then furthermore, that's where you talk to people in the company who have the roles that you want, like I mentioned before. But some of you are working, or you used to work at a company and you don't like the job that you're in, but you didn't mind the company. It's time to reach out to people in the company who are in the job function that you're interested in, especially if you have a connection with the place. And you can ask them real honest questions about what their job is like. Because again, you really want to get a sense of what you're going to jump into. finally, I know I'm going a bit fast. I'm covering a lot of material, but I really want to leave a lot of time for questions. So I'm going to walk through these best practices for reaching out to people, and then we can go over the questions. When you reach out to people, make a direct ask. So many times, women come to me saying, I reach out to people and no one answers. I reach out to people, I feel like I'm bothering them, and I have to I follow up once or twice, and then I'm like, they don't want to talk to me, so I just stop and I get deflated. It's because you need to make a direct ask. What does that look like? I'm giving you specific examples that you can literally pull and use today. You have to get crystal clear on what you want. If you reach out to people saying you just want to chat or ask them about blank, most people don't have the time. But if they know that they would help you, then they'll do something for you. So you can ask for a 20-minute chat to hear about their experience at X company or job because you would like to work there. Or because you are making a career change in this moment that will be great for you and your family. Tell them why. You can ask for a 20-minute chat to give them an update on your career change and ask about a department of their company. So I've done this a number of times, great success, where I know somebody or I know a connection of a connection who works at a company I'm interested in, but in a totally unrelated department, right? They work in finance and I want a job in marketing. But reach out to that person and say, hey, I've been really interested in working at your company. Would you know anything about the marketing department? And the person will often say, hey, you know what? I know nothing about it, but I know somebody who works in there. Would you want to talk to them? Now, it's hit or miss whether that next person is going to reply to you, but follow the chain. Just see where it leads you. Next, if you know somebody and they work at a company that you're interested in, ask them point blank for a referral for the job. You could say, and you know what? Most people who work in companies, especially large companies, they get a bonus for referring somebody that gets hired. So don't go ahead and apply to the job by yourself. If you have a connection who works there, which you could figure it out on LinkedIn very easily, you ask them for a referral link, they'll send it to you. It's a win-win for both of you. Sometimes people won't respond. Or sometimes people will say, I'm not sure if this is the right fit. Don't take it personally. This is your opportunity to get some valuable intel. Say, what about this job isn't a right fit? Do you want to talk on the phone for 10 minutes so I can tell you about why I'm interested in this job? Give it the second try. No one is obligated to give you a referral link. But if you put a little bit of time to try to get one, it could really help your chances. And lastly, ask them to connect you with somebody they know. If your people in your network are not helpful because they don't work in the industries or job that you are interested in, chances are they know somebody who does. And especially on LinkedIn, and even on Facebook, where you can look at the friends of friends feature, it might feel stalkery. Don't worry about it. By don't worry about it, I mean lots of people do this all the time. Recruiters do this all the time. If this makes you feel any better, recruiters at companies are just clicking through people's connections to see who they might know to get to somebody who has the skills that they need. So you say, would you be willing to connect me with X person? Very nice, straightforward ask. I'd like to talk to them about blank. This could be you. This could be you. You take these steps one at a time, see where they lead you, and you can get to a position where you have connected your way to an interview, to a job that you're excited about. You're not gonna be like that Will Ferrell gif about the horrible mistake that you've made and how you immediately regret everything. You can feel satisfied with your decision. And the thing is, I know in your heart, you want to be here. And I know you feel like, how am I going to get there? It feels insurmountable, but you can. And this is where I'm going to tell you a story of a recent client who also is in the Mom Project, whose name is Claire. And she got her dream job at Box. Box is a big software company. She transitioned careers, but it wasn't a total out of the blue transition to a career that she didn't have any experience in. I want to preface this. If you want to transition to a career where you have zero experience, it will take longer. I'm being honest with you. This is my approach. I hope you've noticed my approach is clear communication and to be honest. I feel like there's not enough time in the day to bullshit people, and moms have enough to do and enough to worry about. It will take longer, but that's fine. Because if you're looking for an overnight switch, you actually need to change your priorities. You need to look for a career that's adjacent to your current career. And this is what Claire did. So Claire used to work for a small tech company and she worked in sales. And she quit her job after having her second baby because it was too much to manage during the pandemic, the very beginning. She thought she could on-ramp within a few months to a new job, and it was proving to be difficult. She wanted a new career, but she wasn't sure exactly which job she wanted. She just knew she needed to be at a family-friendly company. And she knew that because of the pandemic, she could probably swing working from home, because a lot of companies were doing working from home, for 6 months to a year, which was fine with her, to go back to the office after that. So she came to me after she was stuck. She contacted people, she updated her resume, she went through best practices of the Mom Project, she looked at her LinkedIn profile, and she felt like she wasn't getting anywhere. So what we did is looked at her skills and then talked about what she really hated about the job that she quit. And it turns out it wasn't just that the company wasn't family friendly or flexible during the pandemic, even though that was true. She also quit because there were parts of her job that she hated that were really stressful. And one of them was cold calling people for sales. She hated it. It wasn't a core part of her job, but her stress level would mount. She would lose sleep over it. She felt like her quota was too high and she couldn't carry it properly. Stressed her out, quit her job. Then she starts looking for other careers. She's thinking, I want to work in business analytics. I want to work, and she's picking these job functions that are really far off from sales, which is fine. But the more we talked about it, the more we realized what she really hated was cold calling people and direct quota carrying, and that a lot of her skills could transfer to other types of sales roles that exist at these tech companies that she would like to work for. And the titles, she didn't know what they were. But by using LinkedIn and literally looking at the job postings and related job postings to something that shows up as, like, let's say, a first sales job, she could see that there's something called sales support, sales solutions. And that's the person that talks to customers after they've already signed the contracts to become new clients. She just manages relationships. You don't have to carry quota. You don't have to cold call people. You are just picking up the phone whenever somebody needs help and help managing their contract for the lifetime of the contract. She's like, I never did that job, but I could do that job. She had a number of skills that were transferable to that job, but she had never done it before. So then we reworked her LinkedIn profile and her resume, where we literally changed the names of her job titles. You can do this. No one's going to come back and say, your job title 5 years ago wasn't X. We changed the name of her job title to be more generic sales. And we changed the first few bullets under every job title of responsibilities to focus on those responsibilities she had that were more like the responsibilities that she was going for. And then we reached out to recruiters in those specific areas. And a few weeks later, she contacted me saying that she got a job at Box. And it was tremendous because I told her it would take her at least 2 months to find a new job. And it took her 3 weeks, which is unheard of, but she also changed her approach. And I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying it affects the timeline. She went for a job that was adjacent and relevant to her world of sales, but she was super specific about what she hated. And that helped her get to a place that was more manageable and easier to transfer to. This is where I'll take your questions. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you're still with me, and I'm excited to help you now.
Okay, so let's get into the questions. Thank you so much, Liana. That was so tactical, quick, to the point, and I think that a lot of people, the chat is chattering. So one of the first questions we got from the chat was, how do you tactfully say that you're willing to hire in at a lower level than your experience would suggest so you can build confidence and better manage life/work balance? So this person's asking basically like, I wanna get this experience, but it's also going to be like lower than what my it's just at a lower level. So how would they tactfully say that during the interview process?
I think this is a really important question, and also something that you should proactively address in the interview, even if the person doesn't ask you, because it'll be a question in the back of their mind if the difference is significant. So here's how I would address it in an interview. I would say, I'm so excited about this job that, as you may have guessed, I'm willing to take a lower compensation for the opportunity to blank, 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 whatever it is, the opportunity to join your company, to build my career in this, to get more experience.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So we have another question for you. Um, how do you know which is the best industry to switch to? I know that you kind of went through that personal assessment. Is there anything else that people could do besides the personal assessment to just discover like where they should pivot to?
Sure. So there are a number of tools online. There are a few ways you could do it. One route is tools online. There are a number of tools online that can help you assess which type of industries work for your personalities and your preferences. One example of what a result of that could be is that like you could and take a questionnaire online, and based on your personality, they say that like you would work really well in retail or in the service business because of the type of way that you like to communicate or the things you like to talk about. That person should not work in insurance, for example. But oftentimes I find that people already know this about themselves. So what I would really direct your time and energy be think about what is it that you like to read and watch videos about? What do you like to talk to people about? And if you just love talking, well, you know what? Like communication is a whole industry. So what types of things do you like to talk about that you could start focusing on those topics as industries? One of the more important things is to be passionate about what you're working on. Like you need to like your day-to-day job function, what you have to do, but you also have to love the topic. That's where I would go. I would go with your gut and just be honest with yourself. If you only like talk about three things, then start there. And there's also one more piece that's a little less relevant during the pandemic because there are some more remote work opportunities, but the majority of jobs are still on site or somewhat on site. That look at the industries that are big near where you live, because that's where you are more likely to find open jobs that you are qualified for. People like to hire locally, even if they say they'll hire from anywhere.
Perfect. Okay. So, one thing that's a very big topic, especially with us at the Mom Project, are career gaps, career breaks.
Yeah.
How do we talk about them? How do you bring it up? Whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What is your advice on how to handle career gaps?
Okay, so there's handling career gaps on the resume, LinkedIn profile. There's
Yes.
handling career gaps in the interview.
Yes. So let's go into the resume first, and then we could do the LinkedIn profile, and then we could jump into the interview.
Sure. So up until recently, the career gap on the link on resume, and I'm just gonna say resume slash LinkedIn because a lot of the information is the same, was a bit awkward, and people didn't know what to put. I think it's amazing that now the Mom Project has an official plug that you can put in there that looks very professional. And at LinkedIn, actually, a woman was just hired as a returnee who had a 5-year gap on her resume where she literally put in the Mom Project on her resume. And she talked about a career gap to care for her family, but it looks professional. It's like a nice logo, it has a set title. And I'm sure Hiva will and Tiffany will share it with you. But I highly recommend that you use that not just on LinkedIn, but then you copy paste the language and put it on your resume. Now, when it comes to the interview, I think you can address it quickly, professionally, and then move on to the next thing. That's how you need to address it. It needs to be a fait accompli. Like my time doing this was important and now it's done. Here are some examples of what you could say. People are like, oh, you haven't been working for 5 years. You said, yes, I took up a pause in my career to focus on my family and my home. During that time, I learned or I invested in blank, blank, blank. It doesn't matter if you didn't do any professional thing. Did you invest time in learning how to negotiate because you had toddlers? Did you invest time in being like you're not going to use the word homekeeper, but managing schedules, working with vendors? Were you constantly dealing with like plumbers and other types of house service people? Talk about the things that you did. I managed a schedule for a family of 5, of 6. I spent time, I also took trainings on XYZ, and now I'm ready to come back to work. Now, that's like an easy thing to say, but you need to convey in the interview that you're confident in this, right? That this happened And now here you are, professional you didn't miss a beat and you're back. Oftentimes, we don't feel that way. And that's where a good pep talk matters. That's where calling a friend who works and having them repeat back to you how awesome you are works. That's also where getting a coach works. So one of the coaching services that I provide, but many other coaches provide too, is like job readiness training. And a lot of that is interview prep, where we will just do mock interview after mock interview so that you practice those talking points and they feel like second nature and they come out confidently and naturally. And you find the segues to move on to the next or ways to answer any follow-up questions. So for some people who don't know, and I think this is very important, the difference between a coach and a mentor. A mentor is someone who has done exactly what you want to do, and they tell you how they did it. And you take notes and you're like, okay, I could try some of these things. A coach is someone who listens to what you want to do and helps you navigate the path towards where you want to go. That's the big difference. And that's where things like job readiness matters. Like you can read so many interviews about how people prepared for interviews, but ultimately for interviews, I think it's important to do the practice yourself with somebody who is there specifically to make you succeed.
Okay, guys, I hope you guys took those notes because those were all really great tips. So I know that there are so many questions that you guys sent in from prior to the event started, and the chat is blown up with questions. So we're going to try our hardest to get to all of them. One question that came in from the community was, what is the best way to present yourself when you are looking to make that switch, but you're in the same industry? You just want to you want to keep your job, but you want to switch to the same industry. What same role, switching industries. I mean, sorry about that, guys. So you're in the same role, but you want to switch industries. What thoughts do you have on that?
I think that it's all about the story that you tell. And the simple story is about your passion for the new industry. And I would add why you didn't like about your previous industry. Give you an example. So my first job was working for the US Congress. And I was altruistic. I wanted to make a difference. I worked on this phenomenal thing called the Commission to Reform Foreign Aid, US foreign aid in different countries. It sounded marvelous. And I got into the job and I hated the bureaucracy. It didn't work for me. I liked doing things quickly. And so then when I switched industries, people say, why do you want to work? And I worked in the nonprofit industry afterwards. I mentioned my passion for the cause and nonprofit, but I also was clear to them that I was leaving my industry intentionally. Like I can't handle bureaucracy because I like to be efficient and work quickly and blank, 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 and it turned it into a positive.
Okay, thank you. Another one is how do you transition from self-employment into back to the traditional workforce? I know that a lot of us, especially during the pandemic, there's many different options to getting back into the workplace. So what do you think about that, from going to being self-employed to being back into like a 9 to 5?
Well, I think that's a big question because how do you land a 9 to 5 job? Or is it like, how do you approach thinking about that transition in general?
So, how do you approach thinking about that transition? So, how do you kind of step into that pivot? And when you're applying for these jobs that are a little bit more traditional, how do you kind of present yourself as someone that was self employed just to stand up from the rest of the group?
Got it. I think it's important to talk about all of the pluses that come from being an entrepreneur. And then also talk about what a good team player you are and why you now want to work at a company. Because people, as you know, people have biases. And it's not that they're biased to get on as entrepreneurs because you tried your own thing, especially in this country, doing your own thing is seen as really cool. But the bias, the unconscious bias is, can this person work well with others? That's what the company's wondering. Will this person be okay having a boss who's calling the shots? So you need to talk about how you are ready for that.
Thank you. So I know you spoke about a little bit about making those LinkedIn connections earlier and having someone who is, actually employed at LinkedIn is like the best time to ask these kind of questions. We know that the engagement with some in-mails can be low because people are busy, like you said.
Mhm.
Can you just run down quickly just other ways to stand out from the crowd when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn? I know you talked about it a little bit in your presentation, but kind of just going back for that for anyone that's just joined in.
Sure. So, LinkedIn best practices to reach out to people. The first is you want to reach out to people who are first degree connections to you. That's the people that you personally know. If you feel like you don't have a strong network, I would recommend going back on LinkedIn. And there's an option on LinkedIn to look through all of the people you know on your email. And you'll find a number of people who have LinkedIn profiles who you've never connected with. That's the first. Connect with the people that you know. Then LinkedIn research shows that the people who are most useful to you in finding a job oftentimes are not the people you know directly, like the person you used to work with or your sister. It's actually the people, the second degree connections. So the people who know the people you know, your sister's friend, your coworker's coworker. And that's where it takes um, a small amount of time, but it's a valuable investment to look through people's networks. So what you can do is you can search for on LinkedIn, say a job title. I'm just going to pick video producer. So in the search bar, you put in video producer, and then there's like tabs right underneath the search bar where you can search for jobs or you can search for people. Click on the people tab, and LinkedIn will surface the people in your network, first degree, second degree, third degree connections that have those words video producer in their profile. You want to start there. Now, there's also connecting with recruiters. Nothing says, nothing and nobody says that you can't message a recruiter. You don't have to wait for a recruiter to message you. So you can look in the search bar for a title, recruiter at whatever, Netflix. Find the names and reach out to the person directly. Here's the thing about recruiters. So I work with a lot of recruiters, not LinkedIn recruiters, actually LinkedIn customers who are recruiters. Recruiters are like salespeople. What I mean by that is they are trying to build Rolodexes of candidates that they can tap whenever an open job pops up at their company. They're like matchmakers. So they want to know as many qualified people as possible. That's frustrating for a candidate sometimes. You're like, I was talking to a recruiter and then they went dark. And by the way, that's rude. People should tell you when you are no longer eligible for a job or no longer being considered. But that aside, people feel like they get ghosted, but recruiters are actually just filtering through hundreds of people constantly with openings at their company. So they want your name in their file. I can't guarantee you that that means you're going to get the job, but you might as well get on the list.
And guys, great tips, Liana. Thank you so much. We're also having a how to do your personal branding correctly on LinkedIn session on November 13th. Be on the lookout for that. But really great tips from Liana here, who is employed at LinkedIn. So, I mean, makes sense, right? Okay, so another question that we have is when you're making that career change and you're
Mm-hmm.
pivoting, how do you make yourself attractive from other candidates when you've been at home for a while and we're in the middle of a pandemic? I know that there's
Mm-hmm.
people that were career pivoting before the pandemic started, and now they just feel like they're set back like so far. So, what advice do you have for that?
So, my advice here, honestly, is to focus on the positive. It sounds so cliche, but you know what's not serving anybody is you waking up every day saying, I'm up against the pandemic and I'm up against all these people. You might as well be telling yourself, today, I'm going to take a step to try to get me in the right direction. You're the same person and you're going to have the same breakfast and you're going to talk to the same people that day. But if you start with one attitude that's a bit more proactive, if you feel like things are a bit more in your control and you're actually taking steps, you will get somewhere. The former approach of being like, I'm against everybody and this is a giant hill to climb is just not going to get you anywhere. And it's hard to do. It sounds easy, but I understand it's very hard to do, but it's really important. And that's why it's really important also to have an action plan that you tick off little boxes. You literally write down in granularity, I'm going to reach out to this person today. If you did it, you check the box. Then you write a little box that says, follow up with X person on Wednesday. And then you check the box. Make sure that you see that you're doing things, because we often forget all the good work that we do. And we just throw our hands up and say, oh my God, this is impossible. And mind you, this is not just advice for the pandemic. This is advice for job seeking in general. It feels harder in the pandemic, and it is in so many ways, but also, like I was saying, job postings are opening up. It may not feel that way, but they are. There's a higher volume of job postings right now. And you've never had more online tools at your disposal to figure out what industries you want to go to, who you might know, and the skills to learn.
Thank you. That's great tips, honestly. Another one is, how do you continue your momentum to not feel discouraged, whether it is about the pandemic, whether it is you've been trying to make this career pivot for so long, and you just feel like maybe this isn't the industry for me. Like, how do you help with like just that feeling of feeling discouraged?
Oh man, guys, I feel that. Not just because of the clients that I have, but like as a working mom with 2 kids. And like also between us, like I'm gonna share, like I rent a house that basically is run by like a slumlord that I'm moving from. Some days you just feel like you're up against everything. And it wasn't by choice, by the way. I had no idea this was gonna be the house that I had. Um, you How do you keep from being discouraged? Well, there's so many tips out there, right? Meditate, sleep 8 hours, drink a lot of water. All those things are important. What I found to be most effective, and this is my personal experience, is to literally know what are the pick me ups for me. What things get me in a better mood and bring my energy up every single day? And for me, it's calling a friend and talking to them for 20 minutes. For me, it's having a really good laugh. For me, it's like reading 1 or 2 specific websites or reading some poetry or having like a really silly time with my kids and having a dance party. Because the thing is, it feels like with the pandemic and the current political climate, that there's always something that's kind of gonna like knock your spirit down. And you gotta find those things that are gonna bring you a little joy and a little momentum in your life in general. And that applies to the job search too. Like even if you're feeling down about the job search, doing something that lifts your spirits up will just make you feel a bit more optimistic in general. And then there's the really when you feel stuck. There's the I've tried everything, nothing is working for me, I'll never get there. And sometimes you have tried everything that you know. And what you need is someone to take you to the next level, someone to show you where open doors are that you might not have thought of. That's where coaching comes in. That's where talking to someone who's very experienced in the industry that you're looking for comes into.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, I could talk to you forever. And then I just realized it's 1:55 here. And I'm like, no, we have 5 minutes. We've talked about career changes. We've talked about what to put on your resumes. Guys, put it in the chat for you. But if you did take a career break, we do have our resume rev tool that will manually put that break in there. And if you want to showcase your break on LinkedIn, we have that as well that Liana discussed. We've talked about just different keywords you should use, how you could reach out to people on LinkedIn. In our last 5 minutes, Liana, if there's one thing you want to leave our community with today on career pivots, all thing pivots, pivoting your life away, what would that be?
My one thing is that I know you can do it. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I know you can do it. And we all, when we think about careers that we want, we always think about the people that do it the best, right? You want to be a photographer and you're just looking at the best photography. Just like when a kid wants to be a basketball player and you just think about the best basketball players. It takes time to become that person. But the thing is, if you are going in the right direction, something that really speaks to your heart and also will work for your family and your finances, the journey will be fun and it will be worth it. You just need to put the hard work in to get there. And this is why I do what I do. Like I have a full-time job at LinkedIn. And I started coaching and mentoring people over 10 years ago. And especially for women, we oftentimes poo poo our own aspirations and dreams. And we let other people do it too. Not that people say, oh, you can never do that, even though some people do. But it's more like, oh, that's nice. Like I saw some questions come in about how do I get emotional support from my family to make a transition? I'm sure that family is saying, oh, yeah, that's a nice dream. But you know what? We got bills to pay and we got the kids over here. And what are you going to do at 5 o'clock? Like you need to be here. And who's going to go pick up Joey? Like forget that. Right? You have to push those people aside. Because guess what? When your kids want something, are they thinking all these things? They're like, no, hello, mom, snack, 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 snack. They don't care. No, they don't love you. It's that they're thinking about themselves. Your partner, your parents, everyone's thinking about themselves. And you have to give yourself permission to think about yourself and what you want and to dream for it and go. And why I do what I do is because oftentimes women just need that coach, that like cheerleader in the background. It's like, you're on the right track. You're doing it. It's worth it. I'll back you up. We'll be your accountability partner. Let's go. Let's go. We believe in you. And so I want you to believe that what you want is worth it.
I love that. It's worth it, guys. So amazing. Thank you so much, Liana. I mean, I have quotes for days now that I feel like I'm going to start writing down. Very inspirational, very motivational. We know that this is a very hot topic for everyone right now. There are so many people that are making career pivots because things that they've dreamt of, because they have to for their families, or because it is the right time right now. So we see you, we hear you, we're here for you. We've put in the links for some of our programming here at the Mom Project. You will be getting Liana's presentation, as well as her contact info and some of the skills that she talked about with the LinkedIn, how to find your career. That link will also be in the email. So if you RSVP'd for the session, you will be getting that. We just want to say thank you again for joining us for this edition of Unity Hour. Thank you, Liana. You've been amazing. And we just really appreciate you taking the time out on your Friday to come speak to us on this very timely topic. We will see you guys next time. But until then, enjoy your weekend. Bye, everyone.